Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Today my wife and I are going to do a two-player playthrough of Mechs versus Minions. Now I'm going to say right here, we are doing Mission 7 Blast Chamber. So if you're someone who is very cognizant about any sort of spoilers, stop watching now because we have already done the first 6 missions. I'm doing Mission 7 because there's a lot of stuff going on and I think it's a really good way to show mostly the full game of Mechs versus Minions. However, if you are worried about those, the spoilers, stop now. Just don't watch it. I apologize. You still here? Okay, good. So, what I'm going to do, just like normal, is I will have 2 videos. One, which is this one, is going to be about setup and going through some of the cards and all the different components. And then the second one will be the actual playthrough. So if you'd like to go right to the playthrough, feel free to just jump to the next video. Otherwise, hang out and I will show you guys in detail how you play Mechs versus Minions. Alright, so the first thing is we have our board here and we have an objective. Every game you have different objectives. In this one, what we're trying to do is if you look at these crystals here, there's 4 of them. We have to collect all 4 of these crystals and bring them to the center of the board because what we're trying to do is build a bomb. This guy, okay? Which will be used in the next scenario. I'm assuming, I haven't played it yet. But what we're trying to do is we're taking the crystals, put them there. We're trying to do that before all of these minions are each round going to be moving 2 spaces towards that this location where we're going to be assembling the bomb. And if we take 10 points of damage, game's over. So over here you can see we have the Doom tracker and we're going to track the health of our assembly area. So you may be asking, well, we've got that board, how are we going to move our mechs around on that board? And these cards are the way we're going to do it. So each round we're going to be choosing 1 or 2 cards to put into our command line, and we'll look at the command line shortly. And all these cards do different things. Now there are 4 different types of cards. The green ones are my favorite because they're called computery. The yellow lightning bolt ones are called, what are they called? Electric. They're called electric. Blue is metal and the red is fire. Okay, so there are 4 different types, and then within each of those there are 3 different types of cards. So there are attack cards, turn cards, and move cards. So you'll have in the computery group, you'll have Schematic for your just straight out attack. You'll have your memory core for being able to turn and your Omni Stomp to move. And you'll have that for each different type of card. Okay? I'm not going to go into all these in detail because you'll see them used quite significantly in the playthrough. You'll see how they work. What I do want you to know is these cards have a couple different effects which are pretty cool. First, you see how there are 3 different spots on this card? So there's a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. Well, while you're playing the game, you can slot cards on top of other cards that match the same type. So I can put a computery card on top of another computery card. If I do that, so for an example, let's say I took this Omni Stomp and placed it on top of this memory core. Now this Omni Stomp is considered a level 2 instead of a level 1 because there's 2 cards here. And instead of only moving 1 space forward or to either side, I can move 2 spaces forward or either side. However, I can also go all the way up to a level 3 like this. And then on the Schematic aimbot for level 3, I can actually target one minion or for 1 damage to anything that's within 3 range. And this kind of shows you a picture of that. Okay. Pretty awesome. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be slotting these cards in different parts of your command line, but at the same time you're going to be putting ones on top of other cards that are the similar type so that you can power them up. And as you saw, I can use an Omni Stomp and put it on top of a memory core, and I get the benefit of the level 2 Omni Stomp. So you have to make this decision of which card do you want on top, because whichever one's on top is the one that you're going to do. The other thing that you have for all of these cards is you have something that might be kind of hard to see. You have an ability down at the bottom, just right here. And these two types, so the electric and the computer, have the same ability, and then the metal and fire have the same ability. And what they say is for the computery and the electric, it says swap. Swap to undamaged slots. So on your command line, you can actually swap cards. What you'll do is, if I picked up this Omni Stomp, I'll discard it and use the swap effect so I can swap two other cards or two other slots on my command line so I can move them around. And that's the way that so you don't have to just discard cards on your command line. You can actually change the way you're doing stuff. You'll see how that works during the playthrough. Pretty cool. These two, so metal and fire, what's really nice is you're going to be, well, what's really nice, I wouldn't say nice, but you're going to be taking damage from minions during the game, or from a boss if you're playing with the boss. And you're going to have to repair that damage. You can discard any metal card or any fire card to repair one damage. So you'll just discard it and then you'll remove the damage that's on your command line. And we'll show you how the damage works. But so these are the certain cards that you're going to be drafting every round, and they all have different abilities, and you can be stacking them on your command line. You might have to discard one to swap what's on your command line, but this is a lot of what you're going to be doing during the game, using these, 16 types of 4, 8, 12 cards. This here is your command line. It's going to be your bread and butter for the game. This is what's going to move your mech around. It's going to be placing those cards I just showed you on this command line. You have 6 slots. What you're going to do during each of your turns is you're going to start from 1 and go all the way to 6 and do whatever your cards say that are on your command line in the order that they're there. So just for an example, if I had those like that, I would first Omni Stomp, then I would speed, and then I would do the memory core effect. Okay? And you always have to do the full effect unless it says something that says may. Most of them don't say that. Most of them, you have to do whatever is on the card. Okay? So what you'll do is you'll draft your cards, and then what you're going to do is you'll place them on your command line. And just as I was talking about during the card section, looking at the cards specifically, I might have one that has 2 cards on it, so I'll do the level 2 effect. I might even have one that has 3 on it, and if there's 3, so let's say I have 3 metal here, then I'd get the 3rd level effect of the Ripsaw and going for it. Now, what's pretty cool about this game is as you start going through the game, you'll find that there is an overdrive effect. If we have been able to defeat enough minions that we get to the overdrive effect, every different character, there's 4 mechs in this game, has a different overdrive effect. And you can read that and you get that overdrive effect specifically for your character. So for Tristana, she can, before you execute your command line, you may target any minion or a boss and do a damage within 2 range. So you could take out a minion or you could hit the boss even. Pretty cool. So that's this command line. Now as you build your command line and build up your mech, you are going to have some difficulties depending upon what type of scenario you have. There might be minions, there might be bosses, there might be spiked walls or lava, something like that. So what's going to happen when you come across a minion who just wants to take you out? It's going to happen is you have to draw a damage card. So every time there's a minion adjacent to you, or there's a couple other ways, and we'll get into how you draw damage, but one of the main ways is if a minion is adjacent to you, you will take a damage for every minion that is orthogonally adjacent during the minion phase. And what will happen is you will draw one of these cards, and there are 2 types, and I will zoom up on them and show you what they are. So on the left, you will see that this damage says stuck controls, and it says rotate left 90 degrees. When you draw this, you immediately have to do whatever it says here. So I would have to rotate my mech 90 degrees. And then you can see this little spot right here. That is a slot icon, and what that means is I have to take a 6-sided die, roll it, whatever number I get, I have to place a damage on that slot. And if I have cards on there, it just goes right on top of it. So this would then be placed onto my command line, and then I would have to do that every time until I repair it. And how I repair it is by discarding a metal or a fire card after I've drafted him. Over here we just have a regular glitch, and it's that little trash icon. That just means it happens one time. And what it says here is reorder your command line. Swap slots 5 and 6. So you swap your slots 5 and 6, and then you discard it. Those are the two types of damage cards that you will see in the game. So just to give you guys a quick example, I have a damage here that I had to place on 2, let's say, so that it would go right here and it would block my ripsaw. So instead of doing my ripsaw effect, I would have to just rotate 90 degrees. Now I know this is a trash one. Pretend it's a slot one. Here, I'll just switch it with the slot one. You can also just have it in an empty slot spot. Okay, so then as you're going through, well, then I have to rotate 90 degrees before I do my memory core. However, you know that when you're drafting for the next round, and so you can actually use it to your benefit, or you could just get rid of it. It's kind of the fun part about the game. You don't know how you're going to get damaged. How are those minions going to hurt you, or lava or spiked walls? Who knows? So one of the main ways that you will differentiate yourself as a mech from other mechs that are playing is your schematic cards. These schematic cards, as you progress through the campaign, you will continue to receive a new schematic card each mission. So since I'm on mission 7, I have 7 schematic cards for each player. Okay, Monica is going to play Corky, I'm going to play Tristana. We get to, out of these 7, choose 2 of the cards that we're going to use for the game. And I'm going to show you those the 2 that we chose for each one. These, what happens is they will sit next to your command line. You will not be able to use them until you have a specific gear, team gear, that equals the number on the back of the card, and I'll show you team gear in a bit. But once we have as a team the amount of team gears that are on here, you can flip the card over and then use it at any time. Some of them have a save feature, so they're active for the rest of the time, and some of them will have a one-time use. They'll have that trash icon, similar to the damage cards. But they each have 7 right now. I'm going to show you the 2 that we each picked for the game. So the 2 schematics that I use for Tristana that I'm going to use for this playthrough are Reset and Rocket Jump. So Reset doesn't come out until we have 8 team gears. That doesn't come out for a while, but it's a sweet effect. It is a one-time use, because you can see the trash icon up there. After I use it, I'll discard it. What it says is play after you've executed your command line, immediately execute your command line a second time. So basically I can execute my command line twice. Whew, awesome. Rocket Jump here also is a trash icon, so after I use it, I have to discard it. This will be available after Team Gear 5 is, we've surpassed, we've got to the 5th Team Gear, so we'll have this one available much sooner than the Reset. This one's effect is awesome. So what you do is you play before or after you execute your command line, and you will damage all targets within 1 range. Then you will pick a direction and rocket jump 1 space for each minion that was slain. And you'll ignore all objects until you land. So that includes walls, gates, anything, other minions, whatever. Now, if you stomp a minion when you land, you actually don't have to discard this card. It's so key, because then you can use it again and again and again, even though it's a trash card. So those are Tristana's. Let's go look at Corky's. So unlike Tristana, Corky's are both saves. So once they come out, they just stay out, and they affect the game for the rest of the game that you're playing. So the rest of that campaign level. We have Ace Pilot and Mad Props, I think is what it says. So the Ace Pilot is available after we find 8 gears, or we get team gears of 8, and we have all mechs may move in different directions with each stomp when they are using Omni-Stomp, or each step, I guess that's what it says. So usually Omni-Stomp says move forward or to the side 1, 2, or 3 spaces, but now I can move different ways on each step. Pretty cool. Then for the Mad Props, it just says all mechs scythes now have 2 range. So normally a scythe card only has 1 range, and then you'll have 2 range, which just gives you more reach. So those are the 2 that Monica chose for Corky. So I keep talking about team gears with those schematic cards. So what is a team gear? Okay, here it is. This is our team gear tracker. Every time we kill a minion, that minion's going to be placed here. Once we have killed 5 minions, this area will reset, and we have now collected our first gear. Okay, so the more minions we kill, the faster we'll move up this gear track. And remember, when we get to the 15th, level 15, every character gets their overdrive effect, which is on their specific command line. Just below the team gear area, we have the Doom Tracker and the runes, okay? Doom Tracker can be used in each level. It's used for something different. For this round, it's that assembly area's health. If that assembly area's health ever gets to 0, we lose the game. We're going to start at 10. We're playing a normal game. If you wanted to play easy, you could have it all the way up to 15. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now, the runes. This is really interesting. I love this. The runes, how this works is there are certain gates on the board, which we'll get to next, and those gates are locked. Well, the only way we can unlock them is by stepping on specific spots on the game board that match the color of these runes. So this is a red one, green, blue, and yellow. If we ever walk on a red rune, we unlock the red gates, and so then you can walk through red gates. If you ever walk on a green one's open. Pretty awesome, okay? So what you're trying to do is you're going to have to walk on these specific runes to unlock the gate so you can get through and win the game. Because those gates are going to be blocking certain areas, and you'll see that on the board itself. But so these will just track when they're locked or when they're unlocked. So let's talk about the board a little bit. I have zoomed up on a specific spot because right now this shows a lot of different things that we want to talk about. So the first is the crystals. Crystals, all you got to do in order to collect one is just step on it. Once you step on a crystal, you've collected it and you will have it in your inventory until you either drop it off in the assembly area or you take damage. So let's say Tristana had this crystal and then moved up here, but she would take damage. What happens is we have to roll the rune die. Roll the rune die, and whatever color she has there, we look at our compass that we have, and that will tell us which way we have to drop that off. So if it was to the right, because there's a wall there, she'd actually get to keep holding on to it. But otherwise, she would have to drop it off. So let's say it was here. Then she has to go pick it up again. Those are the crystals. What we have here is lava. So if ever a mech walks into lava, you don't wait till the end of the round, you immediately stop whatever you're doing and you draw a damage card. One of these, okay? You resolve that damage card, because remember, whenever you draw a damage card, you immediately resolve what it is. If you have to slot it, you slot it. Then you move to the next spot on your command line if you have any left. If, let's say, I was using a speed card to let me move 2 or 3 spaces, and I was here and I just moved to the lava right there, I don't get to use the rest of my movement of that speed card. I'd have to go to the next card on my command line. Lava does not affect minions. They can walk through it, doesn't affect them at all. Boulders. So this boulder, it's just like a wall. Can't go through it, and minions can't go through it. Okay? Not helpful. It's just in the way. Spikes. So how spikes work is very similar to lava, but there is one important difference. First of all, minions can't get hurt by spikes. But if I'm a mech and I have that speed card that lets me move 2 spaces forward and I run into this spike, I immediately take 1 damage. I resolve it, but then I still complete that card that I'm on. I don't have to move to the next command slot. So if I had 2 speed and I had to move at least 2, well then I would take another damage because I basically ran into the wall a second time. Given you're assuming that you're still in the same spot, of course, because whenever you draw a damage card, there's a very good chance you're going to be turned or moved or something like that. So those are the spiked walls, okay? The last thing that you can see here, oh, there's 2 more things. This spot is what we call a healing location. If ever I walk through that spot, I immediately can heal 1 damage on my command line, if I have any. And then if I go off of that spot and then go back on it, even on the same round, I can heal another damage. So those little healer spots are really important because they can help you get rid of damage, so you don't have to use cards that you drafted just to repair damage from your mech. Lastly, do you see these little runes? See how they are colors, blue, green, red? Those are the ones that match the runes on that rune tracker that I was showing you. And so every time a mech walks on one of them. So let's say if I walked on this green, I would get to then remove that coin on the green rune, and then all green gates would be open. All right, so lastly on our board, something that's very important to know. Here you can see the 4 gates, okay? So if on that rune tracker we do not have the yellow rune or yellow coin off of the coin off of the yellow rune, if I try and go through this, I can't. Now, when I look up in the rules, it doesn't say you take a damage. It just says you can't move through it. So we play where you don't take damage if you try and go through it. I don't know if that's right, but that's how we're going to play it. However, there is one way to actually go through this without having to step on a yellow rune to move that coin off of the rune tracker. And that is if I used a movement card that matches the color of the gate itself. So I just showed you a speed card. If I use speed to go through this gate, I can go through that gate without having to worry about stepping on a rune to unlock it. Do know that if, let's say it was unlocked and I used my speed to go through it, that still would relock the rune. So once you go through a gate, that then relocks the rune, and you have to have somebody go and step on it again to unlock it, or use a card that matches, a movement card that matches the color of the gate. So we've got a yellow gate, we got a red, a green, a blue. So that just shows you the 4 different ones. 2 other items I wanted to note here quick. So first, if ever we get a crystal in a specific spot inside of the assembly line, and I'm going to assembly area, and I'm going to tell you this right now, since I'm videoing this after we did the playthrough, we totally forgot this, and so we made the game a little harder for us, but that's okay. It makes it more fun. What you're supposed to do in this scenario is if I lay my crystal into this blue spot, then for the rest of the game, all blue gates are always unlocked. I don't have to worry about having someone step on a blue rune or using a blue movement card to go through a blue gate, okay? And so if you think about it, the more you have on here, the easier it's going to be to move around, because now red gates are unlocked. And we totally forgot this during the playthrough, so you're going to see us trying really hard, and it makes it a lot more difficult. But that's okay. It makes it more fun. The other thing is the moment I have a crystal on any one of these assembly areas, I also will automatically spawn minions each round on all those runes. So the more crystals I have on here, it's going to mean the more minions are going to come out, because I'm guaranteeing that they're going to come out on all yellow runes, all blue, and all red runes. And then I'll still roll the rune die, and let's say if I had rolled green, which would have been terrible, if I rolled green, then I would spawn on every single rune spot. So the more crystals you get in there, the more minions will spawn. So do you remember when we rolled that rune die? Looks like that. And we had to do that if we took a damage. We rolled the rune die to determine where we would drop the crystal if we were carrying one. This compass tells us which way we would have to drop the crystal. So if I rolled this, I got a blue, well then I have to drop it to the left of my mech, on that left side. Well, it depends on which way your mech is facing, but the blue side of the mech. So that kind of shows you where certain things happen whenever you have to roll rune dice. Sometimes damage cards will say roll the rune die, move 2 spaces in that direction. Or when you're looking at minion movement in this game, you always move 2 spaces towards the assembly line, but minions always want to move in the blue-green way first and then the red-yellow second. So they want to get as close as they can in the blue-green way first before the red-yellow. Alright, so the last thing to discuss before we get into the playthrough is just the rounds of the game. So how it works is there are 3 phases. There's going to be the player phase, the minion phase, and then technically there's a danger phase, but in this game there isn't a danger phase because the danger phase is when the boss would do something. So instead we just have 2 simple phases, player phase and the minion phase. So in the player phase, what will happen is, besides the first round, you will, from this deck right here, you will draw 5 cards and lay them out on the board. Okay? And you won't lay them on the board, you'll lay them out so you all can see them. After you've laid all of them out, you will take this awesome looking timer, okay, and you're going to flip it over, this sand timer, and it is 45 seconds long, give or take a couple seconds. And within those 45 seconds, you have to draft 4 of those cards. 4 out of 5 of them, no matter how many players there are. If there's 4 players, that means each person takes 1. If there's 2 players, each one takes 2. If there's 3 players, the first player would take 2, every other player takes 1. Okay? So you'll always do 4 out of the 5 cards that are here. There are some cards that let you put more cards out in the draft, but you'll always have 5 to choose from or more, and you have to take 4 of them before the time runs out on this. Okay? If ever you run out of time and somebody hasn't chosen their card or cards, you take all the remaining ones there, shuffle them up, and randomly give them one. After that, you have as much time as you want to place cards onto the command line on here. Okay? Once everybody's placed their cards on the command line, you start with the first player and they execute their command line. After first player does that, then the second player, third player, etc., etc. After that, it's the minion phase. So in the minion phase, the minions will move, in this game, 2 spaces towards the assembly line. Then we'll roll the rune die. Whatever you get, you'll have to spawn in on all of the yellow runes. You'll spawn new minions. And then you look to see if any of the minions are adjacent to a mech. Now, just for an example, I'm going to put this minion here. This mech here, this minion is considered adjacent. It's orthogonally adjacent. This minion is not. So he would only take, that's Ziggy. Ziggy would only take 1 damage. Okay? So after the damage phase, then you just start back over at the player phase for the next round. And that's how you play Mechs versus Minions. You'll see it's a lot of thinking and puzzly, which is something I love. And I hope you guys enjoy the playthrough.